What's going on, everyone? I went outside and the first thing I noticed is that, man, it is just cold. This storm is definitely coming. And I think that most people think they're ready for a snowstorm until the power drops or the cell towers choke and they realize they have absolutely no plan. Let's address what actually matters when the grid goes down or when the phones stop working and when the storm turns your neighborhood into a virtual communication desert. More importantly, how to prep your comms, your power, and your mobility the same way responders do so you're not reacting to the storm, but you're truly staying ahead of it. Now, if you've been watching the news, they're talking about it nonstop. Everyone worries about losing power. They rush to buy batteries, candles, generators, basically whatever they can find. But the first thing that collapses in a storm isn't the grid. It's just along with virtually everything else. It's communication. And it happens before the first snowflake hits the ground. So let me explain why that is. When a storm is coming, as we've all probably been doing, everyone's doing the exact same thing pretty much at the exact same time. They want to call, they text, they're checking weather apps, they're refreshing their social media, they're streaming the news, they're FaceTiming family, or they're sending photos, or they're just even weather doom scrolling. And the cell network gets absolutely hammered. We see this with natural disasters all the time. And it's not because the towers fall. It's not because the power is out yet, but because the network is overloaded. You're not technically offline. You're just in a digital traffic jam. You might have 5 bars, but nothing loads, nothing sends, nothing receives. And that's the moment people realize they didn't have a plan. Now they don't know who to call, what to check, or what information actually matters. There's a difference between information and intelligence. Information, a lot of times, is just noise. Intelligence is information you can act on. So here's what actually matters during a storm. Number one, your local emergency management updates. Not the national news, not random Facebook posts from people. Your county, your city, and your local responders. And then number two would be NOAA weather radio. This is the backbone of storm intelligence. It doesn't rely on cell towers and it doesn't rely on the internet. And then number three, I just did a video on this yesterday, would be your SKYWARN spotters. These are real people, trained observers, reporting real conditions in real time. And then number four would be looking at your utility outage maps. Not rumors, not my neighbor said, actual grid data. And then number five would be your road conditions and DOT feeds, because mobility is capability. If you can't move, you can't help anyone, or you could possibly even identify someone that may need your help. And then right behind that at number six, I would say your own neighborhood intel. What you see, what you hear, what's going on your street. That's the most accurate information you'll ever get. Everything else is that noise that I was just talking about. This is the part most people never really think about, but responders do, because it's a huge part of their job. Responders rely on redundancy. And we talk about redundancy a lot on this channel, but let's break this into 3 parts: comms, power, and mobility. Before a storm, responders don't hope that things are going to work out. They prepare for things to fail. And it starts with communication. The first step you probably want to do, because it's the most basic and probably one of the easiest, is to charge everything. And I mean everything. Phones, radios, tablets, power banks, flashlights, headlamps, your hotspots, even those rechargeable, AA and AAA batteries that you probably forgot that you own because they get stuffed into the back of a drawer. Responders don't assume they'll have power later. They top off while the grid is still behaving. I can tell you that, first off, we're not going to be doing a Sunday live show tomorrow because Rich and I have already been given notice that we are being called into work, which is fine because we were ready. We have both been preparing ourselves, our gear, and our families and our houses for the last few days so that we can head out and know we are ready for what's to come. And speaking of getting the house ready or your home ready, if you've got a power bank that's been sitting for months, plug it in. Make sure it still holds a charge because dead gear just turns into dead weight. And as far as venturing out goes, or just having to go mobile for work, if the network dies, your navigation ability can't. So download offline areas on whatever you use, whether it's Google Maps, Onyx, Gia, Caltapo, it doesn't matter. Just make sure it works without a signal. And I would say don't stop at the map. Mark the important stuff on the map, your hospitals, your fire stations, your shelters, fuel points, your family's houses, and possibly even alternate routes so that you can quickly identify all of those things on a map if you're trying to scroll through it quickly. Because responders don't rely on live data for basic movement. The best way to do it is to prep your maps that work in airplane mode. As far as your radios go, this is a good time. It should have been done a while ago, but better late than never. Program your local repeaters with their tones. Program simplex channels for if the repeaters fail. Program your family channels, your GMRS or FRS channels, your weather channels, and the channels that your emergency nets are on. And then by all means, please test them. And then label your radios, label your batteries, label your channels. Stress does a really good job of making people stupid, and labels help a lot to combat that. And then another step would be to write a simple comms plan. This doesn't have to be a binder or some sort of tactical fantasy novel, just a one-page plan that answers 3 basic questions. 1, who calls who? 2, on what method? And 3, at what interval? That's it. That is the whole plan. This will help eliminate any panic, confusion, and the classic, oh, I thought you were calling me problem. And one of the best things to do is put it on paper. You know, screens die. Paper doesn't. Your phone, yes, we all know, can be a crucial lifeline. Don't let social media kill it. Shut down anything that eats power for no reason. Your background refresh, your auto updates, your high drain location services, even Bluetooth if you don't need it. Also, another step, this would be step 6, have at least 2 ways to communicate and make sure one of them cannot rely on the internet. Your setup might be phone and radio, or phone and satellite messenger, or radio and some sort of offline messaging app. You know, anything, if your phone is first, that's fine, but then have something else. The point is redundancy. If one system dies, another one should be able to carry you. And practice using your backup before you need it. A storm is not the time to send your first radio call. This is responder style comms prep. Simple, practical, and built to handle failure. Power prep isn't about comfort. It's really about continuity. So again, charge everything now, not a little bit later from now, not when I get around to it. Do it now while the power's still on. Stage your power banks, know where they are, know how much charge they have, and really importantly, know which cable goes to which device. Also, prep your lighting, your headlamps, your flashlights, your lanterns. Now, notice I'm not saying candles here because candles are a fire hazard, and during storms, they should definitely be avoided. Also a good idea to identify and pick one room in your house as your warm zone, and this is where you'll spend most of your time if the heat goes out or if you don't have some sort of alternate heating source. Keep blankets, water, and lighting in there, and if it gets real bad, you can even set up a tent in that room and make a microclimate. If you do have a generator, know which breakers that you have to shut off to go along with that. Know how to run it safely. Most importantly, know how to ventilate it, and also know how to fuel it, because if this goes on for a longer period of time, it could be multiple days. Now, to all of my fellow responders out there, it's literally our job to go out and help people. Mobility is one of our biggest capabilities, and also as a prepared citizen, it should be yours too. If your vehicle can't move, you're stuck, and stuck people can't help anyone. So a good way to start to get ahead of this is to top off your fuel before the storm, check your tire pressure, because cold weather drops PSI and low PSI kills traction. Also, stage your traction aids. If that's sand or shovel, boards, traction mats, whatever you have, just have it in a place where you can easily get to them. And also in your vehicle, keep a go bag. For me, this is extra warm, dry layers, water, snacks, toilet paper, and some dude wipes, in addition to all of the normal gear that you would expect to see and find in a police truck. And another thing I'll mention here quickly is that pay attention to the way you park. If you can, park facing out. If you need to move fast, you don't want to be backing out into snow. And before you even get into your car, start your car, clear the exhaust pipe before starting the car. This one could literally save lives. Blocked exhaust equals carbon monoxide equals unconsciousness, and of course unconsciousness equals death. Now, since we're talking about mobility, as far as leaving the house goes, sometimes, like in many of our cases, and in my case, this is completely unavoidable. Your family doesn't need a SWAT team comms plan. They need a plan that works if something happens and everyone starts to get a little stressed and cold. And then, of course, with that, confusion sets in. So here's what I think something like that should include. Number one, who checks in with who? Number two, what is the primary method we're going to check in? And then three, what is the backup? Because the primary may very well fail. That's what we are preparing for, after all. And then four, what's the time interval that you're going to do this? Is it every hour? Is it every 2 hours? Just have some sort of time interval designated. And then five, what to do if someone doesn't check in. Where are they supposed to go, or who do they contact? Basically, what is the fallback plan? Something like that, to me, this is what brings clarity. That is what brings calm, and that's really what makes that capability possible. And here's the thing. Storms, they don't themselves create chaos. All they really do is expose it. They expose the gaps in your planning. They expose the assumptions you didn't realize you were making. They expose the difference between, yeah, I think I'm ready, and no, I know I'm ready to deal with this. So, guys, don't panic. Don't guess. Don't hope. You've probably been doing the right things. Prepare, communicate, and execute, because tomorrow's storm isn't the problem. The problem would be going into it blind. So prep your comms, prep your power, prep your mobility, and we'll all ride this storm out. So with that, we'll see you on the other side of this. Be safe.